Hey there, the science fiction. I'm Salim Suterwalla. As always, I'm joined by my friend and co-host Carl Eames. Carl, how are you?
Good evening, Chad. Good evening, Salim. How you doing, Cliff? I'm doing all right. Just a little tired today, but hanging in there. Ready to talk about some movies. Been busy
Yeah,
this
yeah,
weekend.
yeah. I was tired too. I ended up watching both the movies basically like I think Sunday Sunday, and then I watched Prey Sunday, and then I watched Nope late last night because that's just when I had the chance to do it. But I was right there with you. As far as just being busy with random stuff, like I need to try to get these movies in. And luckily, I was able to do it.
It
What
was a
else is new?
content-filled weekend. There was just like a lot going on, not just in movies and stuff, but like C2E2 was this past weekend. I was watching Evo. It's a gaming tournament that was all weekend. There's also Sandman dropped this weekend as well. There's a whole bunch of stuff just going on. I don't know why everyone wants to do it this weekend. There was also a party at my house this weekend, so yeah, it was
Oh
just a ton going on.
yeah, you didn't invite me. How could you invite
I was barely invited, so.
me? That's played around. Did you random though? Did you see the rumor about Ryan Gosling supposedly playing Ghost Rider?
It wasn't so much a rumor as much as Ryan Gosling said I wanted to be Ghost Rider. He just told Kevin
Oh,
Feige that, and it's just I guess people projecting past that. Like he wants to do it. It's not that Kevin says, "Oh yeah, you're going to be Ghost Rider," because Norman Reedus has said the same thing a couple years ago. So it's not like
right.
um, it's definitive going to be Ryan Gosling. They'll still probably have auditions and figure out who they want the character to be, but that's just the latest thing is just somebody else in Hollywood saying they want to be a part of Marvel.
Okay, that's fair. I thought it was a rumor that they were trying to get him, but it'll be interesting to see what they go with. I hope they do. Because I think we talked about like the first one, like the first like the
hmm
first Ghost Rider, the movie that they did, Nicolas Cage. I thought that was fun. The second one I never watched, but I heard that was really bad. I can't remember.
Yeah, same here. I never watched the second one, but I watched the first one, and despite what other people say, I do like the first one. I mean, I'm not like comparing it to the MCU because I think a lot of times when people
Right.
go back and watch these older non-MCU movies, they be like, "It's not as good as the MCU, so it's trash." And I'm like, I watched it when it came out. I remember it was at the time it was like one of the highest grossing movies to ever debut because it came out in February, so it was like the highest movie to ever debut in theaters in February
Mm-hmm.
because no movies usually come out that month. And people, again, at that time, people liked that movie, and that's why they made a second one, obviously. So
Right.
now people are spoiled by the MCU or just obsessed with it. They look back, it's like, oh, it's Nicolas Cage. Oh, it's not MCU, and it's weird. And like, oh, again, I haven't seen it in ages, so maybe it didn't age well, but at the time, I definitely liked it.
My long ago again. I enjoyed it still. I like Nick Cage. People that don't like Nick Cage are weirdos. Like, Nick
Yeah.
Cage is a funny actor. I mean, there's a story behind why he does like every single movie ever, but basically it was because I think he had bought some artwork that ended up being like stolen. So then he had like a lawsuit or something. So then he had to like pay that back. So he's making a bunch of movies, but yeah, Nick
Yeah, I want
Cage
to
is
know
a
the
fun
story of
actor.
why he's doing the movie where he's playing himself, the one that came out this year.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting one. I'll have to look into that one. I remember seeing that, but I never really like ended up like looking much into it. So that's interesting for sure. And then there was always that squashed Justice League where he was supposed to be Superman.
Hmm.
That obviously didn't ever get made. But anyways, we have a fun show today. We're going to be talking about Prey, like we mentioned, and then Nope. But before we get into those, we will get into our fast flicks, and this time I'll wait for you to play a fast flick video.
I was about to cut you off if you had as soon as you started breathing, I was about to cut you off.
All right. So our fast flicks. This one is not necessarily a fast flick, but I wanted to talk about it because I texted with you about this, and I think we forgot to talk about it when we did the Comic Con episode. Like we really got an update on Tom Holland's Spider Man. Like obviously they talked about Spider freshman year, and they briefly mentioned like they're gonna try to see if they're gonna get Tom Holland to voice him, but there was no update at all. Even when they released the phases, there was no Spider-Man update. And then thinking about that, and Kevin Feige mentioned like Man and Daredevil will spearhead MC street level heroes. So he has a quote. We've got the street level. So this is a quote by Kevin Feige again. So we've got the street level with the announcement of Daredevil, and of course Spidey going into the street level heroes. So he essentially mentions that both those guys are going to be um, doing the like leading street level heroes essentially. So I was wondering, and we wanted to get your thoughts on this. I mean, I did get briefly your thoughts, but that would be a good idea to have it on our show. But I'm thinking Tom Holland will appear in that 18 episode Daredevil series. That's when he'll appear next. Because, like I said, there's no mention of him and anywhere. This is me just completely speculating, and I'll be shocked if not a part of both of the Avengers movies that are going to be coming out, back to back in Phase 6, end of Phase 6, with the Krang one, and then the Secret Wars. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he's going to appear with that quote, him saying both of those guys are going to be the street level leaders. And then they're doing an 18 episode Daredevil series. So that has to, it's a lot of content to fill for 18 episodes. So I'm thinking that Tom Holland, Spider Man, will be part of that. What are your thoughts on that, Carl? Oh, can't hear you. Nope, can't hear you. What happened? We lost you. You want to log back in and out? I don't know if that. Yeah, that's kind of weird. We were just and all of a sudden, uh, like, can you hear me? Yeah. So yeah, I don't understand what's going on. Can the chat hear Carl? Oh, okay. Yeah, Cliff's saying Carl, he can't hear you either. Um, that's what was up. Why don't Carl? Why don't you log on? Oh, there you go. Nice. So wait for Carl to come back. But yeah, I was like I said. In the meantime, I don't know if the chat has any questions about that. My thoughts on that Spider-Man thing, but um, but yeah, I think that that's a possibility. Just because you have obviously they briefly mentioned right after No Way Home that they're going to be doing like a Spider-Man for like or the next chapter for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. But like I said, it was like shocking to see that they never mentioned anything for all the different phases. So you would think at that point, oh, you back?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now I got to get back set up again. So please keep talking.
Okay. Awesome. So I was just saying, like I said, it makes sense that with that quote and with them not really mentioning Spider-Man, like it could be that he ends up being part of that Daredevil show.
So for me, I don't necessarily like I don't have much to go off of to think that he's going to be in the Daredevil series because I mean, yes, they do have relations. They do have like that time in the comics where they were like swapped identities where Daredevil was like Spider-Man and I believe Spider-Man was Daredevil for a period, but and that's all good. But I don't think they're going to do that so quickly. But more of the like I think the comment is more of like one Spider-Man and Daredevil going to lead the street level heroes just in general just to get it out there, especially when you coming off of Jessica Jones and Punisher and Luke Cage and Iron Fist who have not had any official announcements officially. I know there's like some rumors going about with Punisher and Jessica Jones, but still nothing official at the moment. So uh, I don't read too much into that personally. However, I think what's important about that is that they're specifically saying a Spider-Man is going to be a street level hero because in the MCU he's been involved in so much already, like going from Civil War and being a part of the Sokovian Accords and all of that fighting, going towards Thanos and being in outer space and fighting in game and going across the seas and Far From Home and all this multiverse stuff and No Way Home. Like we haven't seen him actually in New York defending New York at all. This entire time, pretty much, not since Homecoming, I guess. And even then, that was still like him not defending the streets. He wasn't like we say. We would love to see like the Outlaws or something like that, like seeing petty thugs and small time criminals, seeing uh, some of his own rogues gallery actually doing crimes in New York City that he has to stop. We have hardly seen that um, as of. Uh, as of 2022. So I think that's more of a direction of like this is where the character is going to be going. I do find it shocking though that we don't have anything on that schedule for Phase 5 at all for Spider-Man, especially with money hungry Sony and their desires to make as many Spider-Man movies as possible. Um, and make as much money off of them as possible. The fact that they're holding on to the information and they're just going to shadow drop a Spider-Man in there and not worry because they don't have to. They're part of the MCU, but if it's a Spider-Man movie, it's still Sony calling the shots. It's still Sony making the movie, and it comes out whenever they feel like it's ready, whenever they feel like having one. So they don't need Kevin's approval. They don't need um, to fit in any kind of roadmap if they don't want to. So uh, at the same time, they are working with the MCU and they will try to weave it in the story, because the more they deviate from the MCU, the less people are going to be into it.
Right, right. I guess I don't know. I just thought it was like really odd that they didn't mention anything about Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, at least I should say. But we'll see what happens. I'm sure at some point, or maybe, and again, it could be maybe something with Sony. Like I think maybe they just haven't agreed upon something, so they haven't announced anything yet because of that. Like they're still working out details with Sony about his rights and going forward. So maybe that could be it. Maybe that's a simple explanation.
It's
Um,
possible. I mean, I think they got the rights out, but I mean, even then, it's like I said, it's not Marvel. Well, one, Sony can do whatever they want with the character, but also at the same time, I think that even they know that we've been oversaturated with Spider-Man right away, and them telling us now would like ruin like the whole surprise of, hey, we're doing a Spider-Man trilogy on X thing, or here's the next part, because we don't really know if, say, like sure we got like Morbius and Vulture are in that whatever universe they're in. Who even really knows at this point? But we can imply that they're going to be Sinister Six, but we don't really know for sure what they're going to do with Craven. We don't really know what they're really going to do, if they're going to do a Black Cat movie, how Madam Web fits into any of that. Like we don't know any of those details, and they definitely have like it's already two movies that are officially being made that we don't know much about, plus a third one that's rumored that they're focusing on. So it's hard to say where Spider-Man fits in that right now when they haven't even released those other movies.
right. So I guess we'll find out what happens. But moving on to the uh, next fast flick. This guy we've talked about plenty of times.
He's back.
He's back in the news and in a bad way as Ezra Miller charged with burglary in Vermont. This guy needs to be fired and replaced. I think they should go get Grant Gustin to be Barry Allen. That's my opinion, anyways. But yeah, he's a menace. He needs to be gone. Like I don't know what the hell. I don't know what the hell DC's doing. Warner Brothers is like they're like insistent on keeping this freaking idiot as the Flash for one reason or another. I don't understand why.
Yeah, and this was like like last show that we had just had all that news about them canceling the Batgirl movie, and it happened like literally that day of our last podcast, and then like the next day, Warner Brothers Discovery came out and were adamant at saying that we are not canceling the Flash movie, and Ezra Miller is still our Flash, and it's still coming next year. And then a few days ago, this story breaks, and we have Ezra Miller in trouble again. Like, and according, just really read just a little bit from this article. It says, according to the police report, Vermont State Police were notified of a burglary complaint from a residence in Stamford at 5:55 p.m. on May 1st. Police found that several bottles of alcohol were taken from the residence while homeowners were not present. After collecting statements and looking at surveillance videos, police found probable cause to charge Miller with felony burglary into an unoccupied dwelling. So this does seem like there's some personal like stuff in there. If you look more into the article, I'm personally reading from Variety, if you want to look that up at home. But it does seem like there's some personal, like they actually do know, or he might know them, or he owns some sort of ownership of the property, something like that. But regardless, like I agree with you. I think enough is enough. It's time to just let it go, because clearly he's got a lot going on. Then he's I should say their behavior is not something that needs to be, encouraged or uh, uh, overlooked in any kind of capacity. Like, it doesn't make sense. Now the problem is, I totally get it, just from a studio standpoint, is they've shot most of the movie already, and if not the entire thing already, and just to replace their part, they would have to, recast someone and reshoot the whole movie again. And they've already spent millions of dollars in doing it. So it's kind of like they're in a hard place. They can just release the movie as is and then go forward with someone else, or reshoot the movie and spend a bunch of money redoing all these scenes and so on. So it's just like, okay, well, what do you do as a studio? Like, why would you uh, want to spend that much money just to redo a finished product? So yeah, they're in a tough space. So I do understand that perspective, but at the same time, like, I would like something to be said specifically about these things, at least addressed by Warner Brothers.
Right, right. We'll see what progress with that. Who knows? Um, but next fast flick, really quick. I think it's our last one to our main discussion is the Russo brothers rejected Fahey's pitch to kill off the original Avengers, which Fahey had wanted to do in Endgame. Not only kill off Robert Downey Jr., but obviously just kill all of them off. The original Avengers, not all the original. The
Everyone on the
original
screen right now.
ones that are on the screen. Right, right. Um, that would have been like, I mean, I guess they said the reason the Russo brothers said they thought that'd be too aggressive and um, a little too much for the ending. Um, I tend to agree. Like, I kind of like that Chris Hemsworth is still part of the MCU. Um, we wouldn't have had Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye show. Uh, all these other things wouldn't really be part of the MCU anymore if they had done that. And obviously Chris Evans stepped out, but I mean, there's always still a possibility that Steve Rogers at least comes back at some point. I mean, at least in my hopeful mind, in my heart, at least, that Steve Rogers comes back at some point. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you that would have been too extreme, or maybe that's something you would have been okay with saying?
When I first was, first watching Endgame, not knowing any of the outside stuff, I kind of felt that they were going that direction, or they should have gone that direction, of literally like it being because, like, if you remember the actual movie of Infinity War and Endgame, all of the original Avengers, that phase one and all this stuff, they were not snapped. It was all of the newer characters that were snapped.
Right.
So the highlight was for the older characters to get this swan song of a movie. And I thought that if they were in game just like that, and they were the ones that figure things out, but then eventually, like, I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be that team to be the ones to solve and bring everyone back. That I would definitely have written that movie differently to have uh, it be like just kind of like what did transpire with Black Widow individually going out and Iron Man, but instead of just like, oh, they're all blasted and then they all die and then the newer Avengers come and save them, I just have it just be a gradual fall throughout battle and make it more significant for each of the characters. And maybe Captain America's the last one and he still retires and does the same thing, but I kind of thought that's what they were going to do, and I felt it would have been fine with that personally. But at the same time, I totally get what they were saying. Like, it would have been really shocking because a lot of people just don't. Just like the way Infinity War ended, and people weren't expecting that. And the way, I don't know if you remember, like, watching Infinity War in the theaters and how people felt when you were walking out of the theater. Like, it was the most quiet I had ever walked out of a theater full of people. Like, I watched Nope last night or yesterday afternoon. There's like 5 people in the theater. Yeah, it's pretty quiet because we're just leaving. the Infinity War, it was a huge theater packed full of people. I didn't hear a word from
Yeah,
anyone.
people were shocked by the
They were
ending. Like
so shocked by it.
I was actually surprised they went through with that ending. Like that was actually I like obviously because I've read the comics and I understand what happens in the comics. Obviously, it's inverse because what happens at the end is it happens in the beginning of the comic, but I understood like what the concept of Infinity War with Thanos getting all the Infinity Stones and what his plan what he wanted to do, and he was obviously successful in doing so in the comics. But um, I didn't know what MCU you would do because I didn't know if they would just do like a little couple of them or like not do like I didn't know what what they would end up doing because of the fact that they tend to do so much different things than what actually happens in the comic book. So for sure, yeah, that aspect for sure, people probably would have been another very shocked ending, I guess. But yeah, that's I think I need your final thoughts on that before we move into our main two topics.
Just a real quick, just in that same article that John Favreau actually had to call the Russo brothers and Kevin Feige to convince them to not or attempt to convince them to not kill off Iron Man. He wanted because if you remember, John Favreau, excuse me, is Happy Hogan, but also he was the director of the first Iron Man movie. So it was
Right.
kind of his baby, and he didn't want them to kill off Iron Man. But there was also the factor of Robert Downey Jr. wanting to retire from the role, so it's not like they had any other choice there. Although, again, I always will say I really wish the MCU, you know, just had a rotating thing for all these characters so they didn't all have to die. And then we have to rewrite all these stories to include the new character and not the one that was supposed to be in the story, etc., etc. But anyway, so we're gonna move on from
Yeah.
Fast Flicks. We're ready to go ahead and talk about again. We're talking about Prey, and we're talking about Nope tonight. We're gonna start off with Prey. We have I think it's the official trailer. So we've already watched it on the channel, but we're gonna do it one more time, and I hope you're ready for that.
Why do you want to hunt? Because you all think that I can't. I saw a sign in the sky. I'm ready. Maui, Nita. There's something out there. I'm coming with you.
You can't.
I'm trying to protect you.
Protect me from what? It's time.
It knows how to hunt. I know how to survive. Whatever did this, I can kill it.
So that was
All
the
right,
trailer for
so we got
Prey.
Prey. Yeah, good.
Yeah, that was the trailer for Prey, and we'll start off with giving our thoughts on on the movie. I'll go ahead and go first. Obviously, like, so I thought it was a really good movie, especially with it being like like a very short film, like only like an hour 30 minutes long. It didn't waste a lot of like space on whatever. It just had it was constantly like the plot was good from like the beginning. Obviously, this one was different than the other Predator movies, as the name suggests, because obviously all the movies are called Predator, and this one is perspective from the prey, hence the movie name. So it follows, obviously, as we know, the Comanche tribe in the 1719 North America. Um, and again, so like what obviously differentiates the entire series, this movie from the other series, is the Predator is dealing with the adversaries of of someone just as skilled of a hunter as him. Um, like real hunters that are born and live off nature and understand all that kind of stuff. So, and it delivers like a really emotional and epic story. It improves upon like the concept of the earlier films, I think, in my opinion, and it gives like the protagonist who the jump is just as capable, who from the start I should say is just as capable and deadly as the monster. Basically, it shows, and I thought like Amber Mid Thunder, like she does an award winning performance in this. Like she's like majority of the film, really, right? So other than there are just all these other characters that are part of the movie and are supporting in a sense and kind of help her define who she is in ways, but. Yeah, she like a lot of the acting she does. She probably did like obviously green screened it with the Predator, um, and I really enjoyed the movie, and I would definitely give it. If it was like a stars, a 5 out of 5 for me. How about you,
5 out of
Carl? What are your
5.
thoughts on
That's
it?
mighty bold. 5 out of 5.
I
I
loved it.
like
I
the
loved
movie.
it.
I like the movie. I thought it was cool. I do think like because one of the things going into the movie was they're releasing a new Predator movie and it's not going to be in movie theaters. That's weird. Like why would they do that? And it's more of although like I do like again I like the movie. I was hoping that it would be so good for me personally that I would be upset that they didn't put it in theaters. And I'm okay that it's not a movie theater movie. Like it's I still would rather probably go to the theater to see something like that, but I don't think it was so spectacular that it needed to be in theaters. Like to spend that extra money, like okay, I can watch it on my own time, especially since I'm a Hulu subscriber anyway, so it's like not a big deal. But yeah, I thought it was adequate enough for just being at home direct video directed digital or whatever you want to call it, but that doesn't mean it was a low quality or a low budget movie whatsoever. So I think it's kind of a like you said, it is a short one. It's certainly something they put together and only spent so much time on. But the entire movie itself, I think it had a lot of really great kills from the Predator itself, but I didn't really care for much of the action scenes, if that makes sense. I think some of the action choreography wasn't amazing, whether it be limitations on time, on whether skill levels of the actors or stunts or whatever. I just kind of think like some of the fights were a little short and just not all that interesting. But yet the kills from the Predator, killing the bear, killing the guys with the guns, like all of the Caucasian people, killing all of the other Native Americans and all that stuff. The actual deaths in there were pretty cool. Um, so yeah, it was largely a good movie. I like the design too of the actual Predator itself, just making something that is similar enough to what has preceded it. in all these other movies, but still very distinct for this movie. It being, I believe the story is 300 years in the past. So it's
Hmm.
1717 is the year that this movie takes place. So even though the
1719.
Predators, I saw 1717, but it's all right. The mask is still like technologically advanced, but yet you still is way different than what we've seen in the original Predator movie and Predator 2. Which, by the way, I really, really, really wish this weekend wasn't so busy for me, because I was planning on watching the original Predator and Predator 2 at least before watching this. And because I love Predator 1, it's one of my favorite movies ever. Predator 2 I haven't seen since it came out, and all I remember is Danny Glover and urban setting, and that's it. I don't remember anything else about that movie. And then the other ones are the Alien versus Predator and Alien versus Predator Requiem, if I remember the names correctly. And I have not seen any of those, and all of them are available on Hulu. No ad, not an ad, but they are all available on Hulu right now, so you could watch them. If you're watching Prey, you can watch all of those other Predator movies too. But yeah, I just didn't have time to watch those other ones, so it would have been nice to be able to do a good comparison of each of the Predators and stuff. But overall, a solid movie. I think Amber Midthunder did a good job. I like her as an actress. Again, I like her in Legion. If you're familiar with Legion, she was there first. So really good show, and I really liked her in this movie. I love the again, most of the cast is Native American, like almost all of it. Um, and then there was some Caucasians in there too, which they mostly didn't even speak English or
The
whatever
French, I
they're speaking.
believe.
Yeah, and then there's just like the one. Um, but yeah, like it was still really cool. One thing I didn't notice that in recent days that this movie was, I don't know if they like fully dubbed it at the time of recording or if they went over it back again, but they made sure everyone could speak Comanche, like the actual language of the Native American tribe. And they did make, there is a dub version of
Right.
this movie in Comanche. So it's like one of the first movies, if not the first movie to ever have that. And I think that's really sweet for just anyone that speaks that language. They can watch, because they almost made the movie subtitled where everyone was going to speak Comanche, and then it would just been English subtitles, but they decided to just make everyone speak English and then do a different dub after that. So it's really cool.
Right, right. Again, I looked up a couple of spots. It is 1719.
Okay,
Multiple places mentioned
not a big
1719.
deal.
No, I was just saying, like I said, it's in 1719. But yeah, like I said, I enjoyed it. Did you have any other thoughts on some of the, like, with the Predator and like anything else?
Did you have like well, I want to know if you had like a favorite design or a favorite kill in particular. For me, I did like it was around this scene here where they were going through and they were shooting him, and I think he picked up one of the bear traps and he like threw it at the head of one of the guys and it caught the guy in the head. That was my favorite kill of the whole movie.
Right. I thought I liked the end fight, the fight scene between like her brother and the Predator, and then
Hmm.
her fighting and her kind of figuring out, because again they showed like she's a skilled hunter, right? All these guys are skilled hunters, so she figures out the things that his weaknesses are and what, like she figures out that spoiler again, just in case anyone sees, she figures out that, the thing, there's something that she can use to kind of hide herself from him, from the Predator's like sensory or whatever. I won't say exactly what, but like it just kind of shows like she figures all these things out, and slowly as the movie's going on, and um, it's just cool. I just thought, like I said, that I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was well done, and like I said, I like the fact I guess another thing for me that changes my perspective on things, especially like how they change up this, like the way they change it up. Like I said, this is a bit different than the other Predator movies. Like this is more focused on, you know, the not the Predator itself, but more so on the other people in a sense. So I just thought that was cool in my opinion. But yeah, let's move on to Nope. I know the chat was on fire about that movie. We do have the official trailer, so we'll play that first before we really get into and give our thoughts on the movie itself.
Did you know that the very first assembly of photographs to create a motion picture was a 2-second clip of a black man on a horse? And that man is my great-great-grandfather.
Great.
Is another great-grandfather. But that's why back at the Haywood Ranch, as the only black-owned horse trainers in Hollywood, we like to say, since the moment pictures could move, yeah, skin in the game.
What's a bad miracle? They got a word for that?
Yeah, nah.
So that was Nope, the official trailer. I know I was kind of paying attention to the chat a little bit, and he had a few questions about the monkey, and he didn't understand what that was about, and all that other stuff. So let's address the monkey first. Now, let's address like what the movie is about. Really
We
quick.
should talk about the movie first. Just
Yeah. So
general.
I'm getting it. Yeah, I'm getting at that. So the movie is basically is on themed about two points. Like you can't tame a predator, and mankind essentially will risk everything for like the prize, the spectacle. That's what the movie is like themed about, and everything that happens in the movie is essentially based around those two things. So the monkey, in an interesting love, I was interested in that aspect because obviously it meets that you can tame a predator, the chimpanzee, I should say. But the chimpanzee thing is actually based on a true thing, not exactly what they showed in the movie, like it being like a way back in a sitcom. But there was a situation where a TV actor was attacked by a chimpanzee, an acting chimpanzee, whatever you call it. The chimpanzee's name was Travis, supposedly. And the actress or actor, I should say, she grabbed the Tickle Me Elmo, and that kind of set off the chimpanzee. And in the same way, that show in the movie attacks everyone. And in real life, the actor also got disfigured because of the chimpanzee just completely went crazy and attacked, and they were able to stop the chimpanzee. Like I think it didn't go as far. Obviously, this is a little bit more hyperbole, where it's a movie, so they're trying to show more dramatic effect and show him doing a lot more damage than the chimpanzee does in real life. Like, yeah, the actor was hurt, but it didn't do as much as in real life that they showed in the movie. But essentially, that's essentially what it's explains what it's about, basically. And in my opinion, as far as the movie's concerned, like, I enjoyed it. I thought, like, it's not only just like a horror sci-fi, but it also does a good job of paying tribute to like westerns, to like show business, and even like it was cool how they showed like the old usage of like old school technology for filming with the cameras. It was very original, also view of like a aliens like invasion type of movie, if you will. That essentially that in a sense that what we've seen in the past in these type of movies, like with the alien invasions, it was very different. Like as far as like the alien itself is something different than what you think it is, and what you would think it is. So, or the UFO or whatever they end up calling it in the movie. But yeah, I thought it was a good movie. Like I said, it's definitely a movie that makes you think. Like it's not a very obvious, like the subtext is very like, you have to like really dig through like the layers really to understand the movie. And I can, I saw a lot of like critics loved it. When I looked at the critics review, for the most part, critics loved it. I saw a lot of viewers that had mixed reviews on it. That I think maybe they probably missed some of the subtext, in my opinion. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was good, and I thought it was very different, and I loved everything like what they did. And obviously, yeah, Daniel Kaluuya and Kiki Palmer, they did a really good job too, as far as everything is concerned. So yeah, that were my thoughts overall on the movie. No. How about you, Carl? What were your thoughts and everything that you gathered?
So yeah, this is my first time watching any Jordan Peele movie, just for the record. I never watched Get Out or whatever the other one was called. I don't remember right now. But yeah, I never watched any other Jordan Peele movies, and this one I did have high expectations for because he's got such a cult following now from Get Out and from the other movie, and I thought it was okay. I'm one of those I'm not one of those that are bashing it, saying it's bad. I'm not one that's praising it, saying it's the greatest thing ever. I'm the one right now, and there's quite a few people that are just kind of just okay with the movie. And there's, just like Cliff said, there's a lot to talk about, certainly, in this movie, and at the same time, it's like. And I've also seen it where people, it's got a lot of complex layers. Again, a lot to talk about, but it's also a lot more straightforward and simple than you might think. Like you probably are overthinking some parts of this movie and other parts that you are ignoring or just wasn't paying attention. That's like where the more lore and deep things are. And just coming off of, like, we're talking about Prey, that's a very straightforward movie, whereas the opposite with Nope, it's more not giving you all of the answers, not directly, not saying, well, this monster came from planet 9X74, which is located on the outer rim of the Pacific Ocean thing. Like, it's not saying any of those specific things and just giving you all of this information. Some of the stuff is there, but it's kind of like in the background or was teased earlier in the movie. Just like Muck was saying, the Bible verse at the beginning of the movie literally was telling you at the what the movie was about. It's about spectacle and also the OJ thing. Like, the main character's name is OJ. not only just like Muck was saying that the OJ trial was a spectacle. I mean, we just had like the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing that was a spectacle too. But also him being called OJ at the beginning of the movie, all of those actors and stuff, like they were actually kind of like, because they didn't know him, he was really quiet, and you got somebody named OJ, and they think OJ Simpson too. So
Right.
they were all white people, and they just kind of like, oh, here's this really dark black guy called OJ. So they're like, it's not OJ Simpson, but it's like it makes them uncomfortable in the way they treat him and the way they look at him. So there's a lot of implied stuff in there in the movie, and there's a lot of layers to it.
Right.
um I think like, and what's funny for me is I like that type of stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, like I have it right here. I it's usually right here at every single show, but because I'm actually using it as a prop today, it's on my right side. I love this anime called Neon Genesis Evangelion to my like to everything that I own. Like, I love this anime. It is one of the most uh complex and interesting things that I've ever seen. It's like my favorite thing in the world, right? I've watched this a bunch of times, and every time I watch it, it gets more and more rewarding because it has so many layers and there's so many uh things that are not straightforward, that once I've seen it and then I go back and watch it again, I get a deeper understanding every single time. So it just continues to be more and more rewarding. Nope is that kind of movie where it's just like this, where you're going to get more out of it the more you watch it. And once you get like a small nugget of understanding, you go back and you see more, and it just keeps going back that way. However, I didn't like it that much. Like, I think that it could have been more layers to it and more complex than it actually is. Because like I said, it's a lot more simple than you think. So let's go ahead and go back and talk about the monkey, because I know Cliff had some questions, and I actually did my best to try not to do much research, because going into the movie, I know a lot of people were saying exactly what I've said, that it's not that deep. That some stuff are just more straightforward, and of course there's the whole scene with the monkey um beating, on the actual co-hosts or the co-stars of trying to get Jupe, right, of Ricky Jupe. And there's that shoe in the middle of the room, so that's like standing straight up, and that is a weird thing. So we got the Bible scripture at the beginning of the movie, and then you also have OJ asking it like earlier in the movie, do you believe, like, is there a such thing as a bad miracle? What do you call that? Right? He even said it in the trailer. So you're already establishing that there is people that believe in miracles. However far you go with that, it's your own mileage, but the people believe in miracles. So this chimpanzee, and also, again, establishing that the whole predator thing, like you were saying, the um, I think OJ said you don't control animals, that you kind of negotiate with them. You make a deal with them.
Right. Right.
So in this case, the chimpanzee been going through a whole bunch, and I think it was like the balloons or something like
Yeah.
that. Something that
Balloon
made
pop. That
balloon
scared
pop,
him, and
scared him,
he
and made it
lost it.
snap. So at that point, he was already losing it, and all of the cast members were making direct eye contact with the animal, with the chimpanzee, and they didn't know, because they were trusting it. They worked with it for so long, but the chimpanzee had already lost it, so he saw them as a threat. All right,
Right.
so that
And
part
their
of the movie,
behavior in general, their aggressive behavior in general, also kind of made it like more aggressive too.
right? So that part of the movie is important in framing how the actual like alien thing is perceived, because when it's not like, it's partly building up the backstory for Jupe, right? But it's also framing how to perceive the actual alien, because again, the chimp was going crazy and was beating on the and killing co-stars and stuff. But once it was chill and Junpei was underneath the table and just trying to stay safe and be quiet, the monkey started to chill, but that shoe was still sitting there, standing straight up, right? So despite the fact that his co-stars and friends were dying and getting killed, the shoe is standing straight up for some reason, and there's like no explanation as to why the shoe is standing up. That is a miracle, right? That is just saying, and there's no other explanation to it. You just have to accept that that is a miracle, because that chimp sat down and didn't notice Junpei right away, but Junpei was so distracted by the shoe that he wasn't paying all that much attention to his co-stars getting killed. So Chimpanzee was calmed down at that point because he wasn't seeing Junpei as a threat. He saw him as a friend. Remember them explaining the fist bump?
Right.
That's why he reached his hand underneath the table. The monkey reached his hand on the table because he was like, "Oh, you're my friend, because you're not like being aggressive to me and you're not mad at me or anything like that. I'm calmed down. Everything's good. Hey, man, like, fist bump." So he reached his hand under the table, and Junpei was like, "Oh, okay, this is weird, but yeah, I guess you're not gonna kill me." So fist bump, and then blam, monkey's dead. So that's what all of that was about. It was about establishing, one, miracles, and two, not making direct eye contact because he was not looking at chimpanzee. He was looking at the shoe. He was distracted. So it was a miracle that Junpei survived that experience because of that shoe. Again, the shoe, you just have to accept that it's just like that. And that's what I mean, is like, it's not that complicated, but it is complicated, right? You just have to accept it. Now going forward, like later on with Junpei, and all of the whole spectacle that he had trying to make that whole what was it called, I don't know, just trying to make a spectacle out of the alien, right?
Right.
Everyone's
So
gonna see
again,
it's supposed to come at this
doing
time
edit.
and this stuff. Go ahead.
No, like I said, risking anything for everything for a spectacle. Essentially, that's essentially what they were doing there. Like they're trying to, make a show out of the alien, essentially, and obviously at that point, the real alien does come up. But yeah, it just kind of showing like what happens when you do anything for the spectacle, and even the TMZ in the end. That's what that's about. Like the TMZ guy, he wants to get the video. He needs to get the video. It doesn't matter, and obviously find out what happens when you do anything to get that video or whatever that is. There's consequences involved to that. So yeah, that's.
All right, so I know what else was chat talking about. I'm trying to look real quick, but while you guys are typing out questions and stuff that you have about the movie, I do want to talk about that. Like, what are your thoughts on the design of whatever we'll just call it, the alien, or the creature, or whatever you want to say? What do you think about the design and its use in the movie? Just general thoughts on it.
Yeah, I thought like it was like the design is not anything special per se. I think like what's special about it is they make you think it's something that it's not, right? Because you think this is a flying saucer, right?
Right.
Like
right.
that but it's not. And I think that's again part of the subtext of the movie. Things aren't what they seem. And they even mentioned, like, I think what OJ, right? He says that's not a ship, because he starts to understand like what that actually thing that's flying around is the alien itself. Like it's the thing that's the alien, I should say. So like the design of like it's not any, like I said, not any special, but like what it represents is again more special in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying there, but I still hate it. Like, I totally get that. One, just like I think Cliff was saying, special effects weren't all that great. This wasn't really that type of movie, and that's what I was kind of expecting, I guess. For one, there to be actual aliens, because there was that part early in the movie where Junpei's sons were dressed in like the alien masks and stuff like that,
Right.
and here I am, was like, oh, shit's about to go down. I'm like, okay, they actually are, encounter, and then he punches the hell out of one kid.
Yeah, but
And
I
I'm
think
like,
that's
oh
part of
man,
it. That's
yeah,
part of it. It is part of making you think it's something
of
that it
course.
isn't. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Right. And then the weird messed up thing about that is, so Junpei went through this experience, again tying it back to the monkey. So the monkey again is not at all related to the monster. They're just,
Right.
it's just an example of an animal that you're trying to
Right.
control, and that's part of the overall narrative, is that, trying to control animals, but you really can't control them, but you can only make an agreement with them. So the whole weird thing is that Junpei went through this experience on this show, and then he has his thing going on now, where this spectacle is made, and he makes these masks of aliens that coincidentally they look like monkeys a little bit, right? If
Right.
you look closely at the mask, they look a little bit like monkeys. So it's weird that he would have that very traumatic experience, but then try to make money off of it at the same time. But those aliens are just his sons and stuff, and it's just to throw you off about the creature itself.
Yeah.
The Go ahead.
And he was sorry, and the whole making money off of his traumatic experience, even the stuff that like he has in his back office, like the door, like he talks about how supposedly he didn't ask for money from these people, but like people could come see it to pay. Like so he paid for one thing, he does charge to see the original stuff, but he talked about like how that couple paid him a lot of money to spend the night there. So yeah, he takes, he has his trauma, but he takes advantage of his trauma to make money off of it too.
Mhm.
So that kind of represents that as well.
But yeah, overall the ship itself, or I say ship, excuse me, the
Alien,
creature
yeah, or creature
itself,
or whatever, yeah.
I didn't like, really, because as others have been saying in the chat, one, it looks like a literal flying saucer, like you took two styrofoam plates and put them on top of each other, and it has a little hole at the bottom, and then that's about it. It flies around. It kind of has the EMP blast that takes out any electronic devices in its vicinity, and it sucks things up in the hole, and that's about it. So it's not a very creepy or scary design, especially if seeing it in the middle of the day. And I was kind of shocked about how much they actually showed it early on. Like you can see so much of it. And then it transforms later on into a bunch of bed sheets and like little flaily guys or whatever. And it lost me because of how unintimidating it looked. Again, if you're in that situation, if you're getting sucked up by a flying creature and getting eaten alive by a bunch of bed sheets, that's very terrifying, and well
Is
worth
digest
the
yeah,
scare.
is digesting him alive, or that's what it seems to be doing, or it was something like that.
Yeah, I
Like it's
mean,
like
it ate people. The
right,
entire audience was, devoured.
right.
Like that in and of itself is scary. If that were happened to you, Salim, I'm pretty sure you would be scared and then you would be dead afterward. But as a moviegoer watching it, it wasn't very visually interesting, and it wasn't very scary. It wasn't,
I
and
thought it was
again, maybe that's not the point of the movie
right.
to
I
be
thought it was
scary.
creepy when they were in the thing going in there, and I thought it was kind of creepy in a sense, but
And I mean, I guess for me, that's gone through a haunted house where it's pitch black and you're literally going through the exact same thing that was in that thing. It doesn't feel creepy. It's just like I can't see. And in their case, they were getting eaten alive. So that's differences. But I think it could have been something more elaborate. But again, the point, I don't think they put like a big special effects budget into this movie, because I don't think that's the point of the movie, and that's
right,
probably really why it was so simple and cheap looking, because that wasn't the story that they were trying to tell. It wasn't a monster movie. It was more of uh, using these like to make a point, basically, to using these things with the monkey and the
mm,
animals and predators, and having respect and talking about spectacle and stuff like that's
Right.
the point of the movie. It's not like the Predator again, where the point of the movie is monster comes to Earth to kill humans, and humans fight back and kill monster. That's what Predator is about. That's what Prey is about. This is not about that. It just happens to have a monster in it, you know. And I think that's where it does get a little lost with some people, and it doesn't necessarily appeal to everyone. Because, like I said, I would have rather it been an alien spacecraft with aliens inside, and they do strange, weird things, and I would have liked the spectacle of aliens, but it was just a flying saucer that turns into a bedsheet. So that's not what this movie's about, but it's actually commenting on my desire for a spectacle. Like, and that's what the movie's about.
Right. And again, to address another comment, like he's talking about uh, how Junpei, Ricky Park, played by Stephen Yeun, should have had a better ending, but he got the ending that he essentially deserved because he didn't learn from his past, like um, the whole spectacle stuff, right? The Predator, the spectacle, making a spectacle of the Predator, and all that stuff. Like he's that's what they're doing in that in that open in the carnival, whatever it is. So that's why he dies. He doesn't learn from his past. He doesn't learn from the mistakes that happen from like that whole point. So that's why I think they show him dying in that sense, because it's just like, look, if you're not going to learn from these things, that's what's going to happen. And Muck makes a good point too, like the animal in the sky that sucks you in and kills you. If you look at it, it's clearly like it's fame. Um, that's what that represents. Like looking at like fame or anything like that, an aspect. Um, like you're trying too hard to reach something that that is probably in the end that's not going to end well for you. So yeah, just wanted to get those couple of thoughts in from the chat.
Yeah, and also the director, the guy with the camera, like he was just a cliff. He was filming. He took a camera with him, the smaller cranky camera. He wanted the shot. Like that's his whole thing. His entire story is he is a legendary director, film photographer, cameraman that
Of
gets
predators, he gets the shots of predators. That's what he
right.
does. Like that's what he's like when he's editing. He's all these like different cheetahs and whatever. He's like the guy who gets the greatest shots of
The
predators.
impossible shot.
Yeah, impossible shot. And
So
yeah, he was
that's
sent.
mhm.
Sorry, I said like when I mentioned earlier, they were showing like the old school camera technology with that's what he was using because they had to use that because anytime the alien monster thing came, it turned off all technology, right? So they had to find a new way to kind of film the monster or get a picture of the monster. So that's why they use that. And also in the very end, when she takes a picture of the creature, it's that old school camera. It's not like a regular digital camera, if you will.
Yeah, so he had the camera with him. He wanted to get the
Right.
shot. That's why he died, because he didn't want to, he didn't have a good enough shot just sitting there behind the tarp, especially since it went the other way. He grabbed the camera and he wanted to get the shot. He was so obsessed about getting the shot that he didn't care about his own life anymore, and that's why he
Yeah.
died. That
And
he wanted the
risking
spectacle. He
risking
wanted
it.
the whole spectacle. He wanted to do the impossible. He got the impossible shot, but he had to die to get it, and that's why that happened.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's
but
way
yeah,
more of a metaphorical movie than it is a monster alien. Again, it's not a spectacle movie.
but
It's a
it
movie
lines
about the
up.
spectacle.
Yeah, but it lines up with all of his movies. Like you need to watch his other movies, and you'll understand like why it lines up with Jordan Peele's all of his movies. Like there's deeper meaning behind his movies. Like it's not just like straightforward about what it's it's not about like the monster. It's about deeper meanings behind. So it really does like line up to with his other two movies. I would say, in my opinion, at least. Any other final thoughts on this? Because you did have one more, the Akira slide that we can move on to. I have no idea or thoughts on that. I'll let you just take over for that.
Yeah, real quick, I did have. I wanted to mention that I like, as much as I didn't like most of the movie. I mean, I liked it enough to say it's a good movie, but I didn't care. Like, I'm not enthusiastic about it. But I did like this scene and the shot, like the blood. Although I didn't quite understand why the monster was, all the blood was coming out of it when that never happened in any other point in the movie. But it's still the blood coming down all over the house, and it because again, like at the beginning of the movie, OJ's father dies because of the monster spitting up like all of the inorganic materials, the coins, the keys, and stuff like that. Was spitting that out, and one of those nickels lodged into his father's forehead and killed him. So that was happening at this point of the movie, but this time there was blood. Why? Just to make it scarier? Because it didn't happen before. I don't know. But I did like this scene because it was kind of like the more cinematic part of the movie. But I also wanted to throw in, because they did have a Akira slide, like a Akira reference. So if you don't know, Akira is a anime. It is an anime movie, and it is probably one of the biggest, most influential movies of the anime genre and of all time. And one of the most influential things about it is there's a bike scene where you've seen this scene before, whether you've seen this exact one or you've seen it in some other anime or a cartoon or live action movie or something like that. They did this in the movie, and I really enjoyed the fact that they were able to throw that in there. I do have like a quick little video of Jordan Peele talking about that. Let me 1 second here. And let's throw that up. Is it no sound? Where's the sound? Oh, there it is.
Oh my God. I can't believe
the perfect moment.
Thank you.
I loved the Akira slide too.
I got to do it, man.
So
oh my God. I can't believe
the perfect moment.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's a very influential part of that movie. Like, again, it's been done so many times and so many other movies and stuff. It's just really fun. 1 second, I'm trying to set this up here, and there we go. But yeah, it's there we go. No, it's not. There we go. That's what I want. But yeah, like, this is all of the different times that you may have seen it. At least it's been homaged in like the last 20 years, like over and over and over and over again, because it's just really cool. It's just a badass thing. And again, this clips is just from different animes and cartoons,
shows,
and yeah, but it's also been done in other movies and other live action things, not just cartoons. But that is a very influential anime, and clearly you saw Jordan Peele talking about it. He's super excited he was able to do something like that. But it was just a fun Easter egg. There were many others, but this is the one that stuck out to me as soon as I saw it. I was like, holy cow, the Akira slide, and it was cool. But yeah, that's about it.
Right. Yeah. But that's about all we have for today. Obviously, if you've missed any other past episodes that we've done, please check us out on the Bar Room Network, and check us out. I'll check out all the other shows that the Bar Room Network has to offer. But yeah, that's it for tonight. So we'll see you guys next week. For Carl and myself. Have a good night.
Have a good night, guys. right. So I haven't watched any of Sandman yet, but I think I'll try to get to it this weekend. I don't even know how many episodes it is, but I think that's like the only thing that's worth covering for next week that I can think of.
Yeah, I gotta watch that too. It's on my list. I gotta check it out. I'll start it this week. Either this week or I'll just probably like binge it really quick over the weekend. Um, but yeah, that's all I can think of. Sandman. I know there's other stuff, but I just can't think of it on top of my head. Oh, the Groot. We'll talk about Groot. They released that the Groot.
What's out now?
Yeah. That's like a super short thing. We'll talk about that too. Like it's a 20. Like I think it's like only 20 minutes. So I don't think it's that long. We can just talk about it really quick, and then we'll talk about Sandman, and then any other fast flicks that might pop up. I think there was a couple of things that I saw today, but I just didn't want to include it because I just felt like it was too quick. I didn't want to like add more stuff into the outline. But yeah, we're good to go. If you want to send me the audio, and then I'll post it on the Barroom platform.
All right, you got it on the way.
All right, man. Have a good night. I'll see you next week.
All right, see you next time.
All right, man. Bye.
Bye.